Morning, Jimmy Carter speaking, Safontia, not far from Moscow, near the monastery in New Jerusalem. Can we summarize all ideas about humanity, happy life, fullness of life, religion, philosophy, and so on, in one phrase? Actually, this is the question which was put to Jesus in the Gospel and to many other people as well. Just one phrase. 4 words, no more than 3 letters in every of these 4 words. Jesus just quoted the saying of famous Gamaliel that he was asked to say an ideal, complete, final commandment during the time when he was standing on the one leg. And I guess he was quite old, and to stand on the one leg, it was quite hard. And he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. We can reformulate love your neighbor as God loves you, again from the Jesus speech during the Last Supper. No difference. It doesn't work because we don't know what love is and how is it possible to love your neighbor, and am I obliged to love everyone and so on and so on. It's a positive commandment. This is the problem. So modern humanity, I guess, and the best representatives of the modern humanity, Westerners, Golden Billa, prefer another formula. Do not harm. And it sounds well, negative formulation. So don't try to be positive. This is why it is possible to violate freedom of another person when you try to be positive. I want to be positive, so I shall prohibit abortions, for example. Do not harm. And one my friend who lives now, Russian friend, who lives now in New Zealand, in Christchurch, the town was named so because its founder, the British capitalist of the 19th century, studied in Oxford. He says that he looks at the New Zealanders and he thinks that maybe it is possible no wars, no political passions, just do not harm, just live according to the simple commandments. Do not kill, do not steal, do not lie. As concerns sex, it's a little bit more complicated because there is no harm in the free love, I guess. If it is from the consent of all participating parties, whether these are people, humans, elephants, bacillus, and so on and so forth. Certainly there is one problem. Vicinity. It's not by chance that the commandments speak about neighbors, about your compatriots, or about aliens, those people who came to live in the vicinity, in your neighborhood, and who want to become your neighbors. Vicinity, it's only a mathematical conception, but it's more important than our feeling that all humans are our neighbors, even if they live in New Zealand and I live in Russia. For example, Ukrainians are far from me. Ukraine is more than 1,000 miles far away, but I'm the priest of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, and I'm against Russian war in Ukraine, and I pray for Ukrainians, and I have a lot of friends in the Ukraine, and I communicate with them now, instantly, and they are under shellings, and they are under occupation in its worst, well, the form. It's a new occupation, and it's very risky and very dangerous. So the problem is, 100 years ago, Tolstoy had written his diary. Well, 112 years ago, in 1910, Tolstoy wrote in his diary that today he walked through people, through workers who made the worst walk which was possible at the time. They've made a pavement. And so I'm afraid I don't remember how it's in English. And so they've got a huge stones and made them rubbish in order to the road to be more suitable for horses. And Tolstoy said he's the author above all of the fine, small story After the Ball, describing how there was the ball in some Harrison, in Middle Asia, in Tashkent, for example, newly conquered, and it's all light and brightness and joy, like it's the first ball in his life. And after the ball, Colonel comes out into the backyard to control the punishment of some soldier who tried to run away from this war, from this slavery. Army is a sort of slavery. And so the soldier goes through 2 rows of other soldiers, and they beat him with what was called in Russian by the German word, Spitzroten. It's a very long and very hard stick. And after 100 Spitzrotens, so it was called 100 or 50 or 10 Spitzrotens, so after 100 blows, soldier just he's nearly dead. He's all in blood. So Tolstoy said that when I went through these workers, I felt myself as if I were going through these 2 rows with Spitzrotens. They beat the stones, but he felt that they beat him because he is lucky to have a manor, to have a wealthy life, to have a gramophone, which was he wrote about gramophone nearly every day, even before his death, before it was such a modern technology. And he had a house in Moscow. I was in this house several times. There was the museum after his death in Donbass. And he was shameful. And he wrote that we live in the world where 1% of population lives because 99% lives in poverty. 1% is the golden percent, and 99%, these people, they live in poverty. It was the common thought in his time. It was the thought which inspired Wells to write his Time Machine when the situation was the same in the distant future. We live in this distant future, and we're now enormously wealthier than 100 years ago. And people are much more happier. And there is less poverty and less wars, not to mention it when some Ukrainian listens to you. But still, what made the West and Russia as well, we've enlarged the distance between those who are wealthier and those who are poor. What do we know about Nigeria? We know that there was the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. What a bad country. Muslim extremists and terrorists. But do we understand that Nigeria is still a semi-colonial country because it produces a large amount of oil? It seems to me it's 3rd or 4th petrol country in the world: Saudi Arabia, Russia, Venezuela, and Nigeria. And Nigerians, they don't receive all these money from oil. British, Europeans, other nations, former colonial nations, it was the British colony, they pay some money to the Nigerian government and say, we don't matter what they do after that. And there is a huge, huge corruption. So the country lives very poor. It's one of the poorest country in the world, although it's one of the wealthiest country in the world. And don't tell me that this is their fault, that Nigerians are guilty. If they'll try to change the situation, there will be another war with European participation, like in Iraq or Afghanistan. That's how it goes. The world is unjust. We say sooner or later, we say life is unjust. Everybody cannot live good. And it's a lie. Life is neither just nor unjust. There is no life, there is just an existence. We humans are the source of sense in this world. We humans, with our hearts, thoughts, behavior, remaster existence to be life. We take the existence and we create life from existence, or we create war and death. So I think that though doesn't harm anyone, is not the best commandment. It's not the ideal way out. Remember, my friend went from Russia to New Zealand. He managed. I didn't manage, and a lot of people didn't manage. We cannot all live in New Zealand. That's the problem. But we must make the whole world, New Zealand, new heavens. So the whole earth to be one mountain with New Jerusalem on its top. I don't know how to do this. I think we can do this only in community, in communication, in communion, with God's help above all, to those who are eager to know the ultimate truth, the last truth. Jimmy Krot of Moscow.